Everybody questioned to say, wait a second, you're from India. Nobody builds product companies from India. Will not fund you.
You prepare for what to do when someone says no. Are you prepared for what to do if someone says yes?
I'd done 40 investor pitches. The number of times as an entrepreneur you hear no, you're building a muscle internally just to deal with the no.
When you found someone to come and say, okay, I think there is an idea here and I'm ready to back it with cold hard cash.
20 minutes in, he was like, Naveen, I've decided I'm going to give you $7 million.
Wow.
I had 20,000 rupees left in my account. Now I cannot compute what $7 million means to me. Came out, sat into my rental car, and I crashed.
You crashed the car or you fell asleep? Why don't we have the next Google, the next Meta, or even the DeepSeek?
When you try to compare a US technology evolution and a Chinese technology evolution, for us it's only been 15 years. India should write the software on which the world should run.
Welcome. On this episode of The Disruptors, we're speaking to someone who we can safely say is the OG when it comes to at least unicorns, definitely. Naveen Tewari had a unicorn when people were figuring out what do you mean by saying a company has now achieved unicorn status. Of course, founder of InMobi, not stopped at one. Glance is also now a unicorn. Naveen, thanks for coming in on The Disruptors. We've been wanting to have you on for a while.
Thank you for inviting, and I heard you recently started this show, and it's been a massive success. And thank you for doing this show, because I think India needs these kind of programs which actually talk about the disruption that's happening and how the world is changing.
Yeah. So a standard question that I ask people sometimes on the show is, why do you think you are a disruptor, or what exactly have you disrupted? So let's go back to 2007 when InMobi started. Of course, 2011 was when unicorn and headlines and all of that took place. What do you think that product and that idea changed?
At the time when we started, we had a very simple thought that internet on mobile is going to be large. Not many believed us. We said, we believed in that thesis. Smartphones had just started to come out. Apple had just launched the iPhone. Android wasn't necessarily there. It was just starting to come out. So we were like, hey, I think the internet on mobile phones is going to be big. And I remember going to like 40 investors, pitching to them, say, hey, internet is going to be big, and we think we will build the advertising ecosystem that will keep the internet free on mobile phones. Everybody like, okay, advertising is a brilliant idea. There is nothing that's going to happen on the phones. There is no internet that's going to come in on the phone. So please leave. But I think we believed in that. We believed in the principle of mobile computation becoming really powerful, mobile consumption becoming very powerful, and we stayed at it. So I think the idea of disruption is when you believe in something that nobody else believes in, is when disruption happens. If you're doing something that everybody else believes is going to happen, that's not called disruption. That's just called like, hey, I am building, which is a commonly understood thesis. And I think the world requires a lot more of these kind of things, because how do you otherwise change?
So right now, anyone listening to this will think that, oh, that's a done deal. Obviously, mobile is going to have internet on it, right? It seems so obvious right now.
Yeah.
But for those of you who would remember 2007, it wasn't the case at all. At that point, what is the ability, or what did you see that you're saying 40 other investors did not? What was that thought process then?
It is very hard to explain why you believe something. Because if you could explain it, right, if I go back to 2007, if I could explain why I believe that, then it's a logic.
You saw something.
No, but there is no logic to it. You just believe that this is going to be the case. And many times you call it a gut feel, you call it a hunch, you call it vision when it actually comes out to be great. But if you go back to that point of time, you're just adamant about it. And there is no logic. Yes, we saw some signs here and there. Ability to be able to make a decision with 20% information or data is what you basically need to be able to do. Many a times you would fail, but those few number of times that you would succeed, the success would be very big.
Yeah, and then stick to that conviction, whether you call it intuition or vision or whatever, even when everyone around you, and these would be intelligent people, right? If you're going to them for money, it's not, just a poll you're taking, and they're telling you कि ऐसा नहीं होने वाला है.
Correct.
What was the most cogent explanation you heard to say that what you think is going to be the future is not going to be the future, which would have almost convinced you perhaps?
I don't think I ever got convinced. I don't think anybody was cogent enough to actually give you an explanation. Everybody essentially looks for signs that it is going to happen. And I believe as an entrepreneur, you just need to have a strong conviction about something, because that's why you're an entrepreneur. Now, what everybody else says would be to say, hey, it's not happening. There is no way this would happen. All sorts of reasons. The internet is not fast enough on the phone. Everything was actually factually true. Everything was factually true. Yet, you stay at that conviction to say it'll become big. And that's why many a times it's termed as, being irrational. Or you can say, in Hindi you will say pagal hai, right? San ki hai. But I think that's what's needed to become.
Success ke liye pagalpanti chahiye.
Absolutely. There is no other way you will disrupt anything unless and until you believe deeply about a topic that the world would change in this way, and then it change.
So what was the breakthrough for you in InMobi? And for our viewers, explain what it does. What it does, how it's different, and how it was disruptive, the product and the idea, way back in, the knots, as they call it, 2007 onwards.
InMobi built an ad platform. An ad platform that was for the mobile internet. Many people think of the ad platform and say, oh, I get annoyed by the ads. But the purpose of an ad platform is very simple, to keep the internet free. If we don't build what we do, billions of users across the world will not be able to view and consume internet in a way that it is free to them. So this is a cost of keeping. Our technology is the ability with which we keep the internet free.
So he's the guy serving you ads on your phone. You know where to find him.
Yes.
You find it annoying.
And there are 15 such companies in the world that will do this. And that's why they become so powerful, because, across, if you keep the internet free, that's a business model. And it's a very powerful business model, because imagine the beauty of the internet today. The beauty of the internet is that everybody has access to it. Everybody uses everything for free almost. And that's the best part about ad platforms. They are very powerful, very important, core, essential elements of any digital ecosystem. And that's what we built. And we're very proud of it. It's one of the largest platforms globally.
So the breakthrough moment that we were talking about, when you found someone to come and say, okay, I think there is an idea here and I'm ready to back it with cold hard cash.
We, as I said, I'd done 40 investor pitches. And I had just gotten so used to the no's that it was just painful. I was running out of money. I took on, I was like, okay, nobody in India seems to be, is willing to fund us. And so I flew to the US and I started going to to investors there. So the change between India and the US at that time was to say, everybody believed that an ad platform is required and mobile internet would come. So there was a huge shift. But then everybody questioned to say, wait a second, you're from India. Nobody builds product companies from India. Will not fund you. And so now I'd moved from India, I'd gone from talking to the Indian investors who were saying there is no place for a mobile internet in the world, to a place where there was a place for mobile internet in the world, but no place for India and Indian entrepreneurs. Because there was no success there is no past, no history of Indian entrepreneur. Now, of course, I was getting very dejected. I was almost done and dusted, had no money, nothing was there. I was staying at a friend's place, going around Silicon Valley, pitching after pitching after pitching. Then one day somebody introduced me to Ram Shriram. He was an early investor into Google, also board member at Google. And I was just fascinated by the fact that, yeah, I'm going to meet Ram. And I was like, okay, fine, this is so cool. I will just go see him. And, of course, he's also going to say no. But you know what? I'm just going to go see him. So I just went out, made a pitch to him. 20 minutes in, he was like, Naveen, I've decided I'm going to give you $7 million.
Wow.
We will discuss the valuation offline. Tell me, how will you make this big? Well, here is the dichotomy of this. Here is me, an entrepreneur who is almost broke. I had 20,000 rupees left in my account. Now I cannot compute what $7 million means to me. And I was calculating in that time, I think the exchange rate was 40, 45 or something. So I was multiplying very rapidly. Very rapidly. I was like, 30 crores or something like that. I'm like 20,000, 30 crores. And now he's asking me a tough question to say, how will you scale? I have no idea. I have no idea how to scale because my mind was on survival. My mind was not on scaling the company at that point of time because, I was almost out. And that moment when he said this, I somehow figured out the next 30, 40 minutes of the meeting, came out, sat into my rental car, and I crashed. I slept in the parking lot. I crashed because the
You crashed the car or you fell asleep?
No, I fell asleep.
Okay.
I didn't crash the car. I did not ride the car. I was, it just took so much out of you, that moment to say, man, we are going to live. That moment, I remember it so vividly. I just slid into the car and I slept for 2 hours.
So,
in the parking lot.
Wait a minute. So you get out of a meeting, you finally have someone to fund you.
Yeah.
You say this is great, and instead of celebrating, you get into the car and take a nap.
Not a nap. I almost pass out. It was exhaustion for last 6 months of exhaustion and pressure. All of that just went away in the moment. And it is and I couldn't even call anybody. It was the middle of the day, so everybody in India was sleeping. My whole team was in India. Didn't call anybody, didn't do anything, just crashed.
The important lesson over here, for those who are right now maybe watching this and walking around with their pitches in their pocket or, trying to figure it out, you prepare for what to do when someone says no. Are you prepared for what to do if someone says yes?
Most probably you're not. I will give you that because the number of times as an entrepreneur you hear no, you're building a muscle internally just to deal with the no. Hearing a no is not easy. It is what builds a very different level of character. It breaks your ego. You go in, you make a passionate pitch. You must buy this, what I'm telling you. Take my vision and whatever I'm trying to tell you. No. And you got to smile and you got to come out. And 2 hours later, go and make the pitch again and again.
Okay. So, the space that you are in, and I'm going to come to Glance in just a bit, and related actually, InMobi and Glance is, the challenge is also high because while you've had the first mover advantage, definitely, the moat is not high. The world figured it out, right? Internet on mobile, large platforms, advertising platforms. You're competing with some of the largest companies in the world.
Yes. And that's fine, by the way. So the way you want to think about this, there are only 15 large advertising platforms in the world. Advertising industry is close to $1 trillion economy. There will not be easily a 16th player coming or the 17th player coming. You're right. The top 2 or 3 players are really large and very powerful. But the way I think about this is if you take a fundamental innovative approach to some of these things and play the long game, it allows you to really build a very interesting moat in this business also, which today may not be as large as what these companies have put together, but the way this advertising ecosystem and the digital internet ecosystem is evolving, it is only a matter of time that you will also be a very formidable player.
No, fair enough. But just, okay, for example, who are some of your biggest competitors? A Google, a Meta, all also advertising platforms?
Yes. Yes.
So how do you stand a chance? I mean, I'm going to sound like some of your Silicon Valley early investors. A product company from India.
Yeah.
Standing a chance against these global giants.
But the best part is we're already standing a chance. That's the best part. We have gone after a global opportunity in the advertising space, and this is where we actually truly stand a chance. The thing that we did not have as an advertising company, which Google and Facebook have, which is a consumer business. They have a frontal consumer business, and at the back they have an advertising machinery. That's how they function.
Right.
With Glance, we actually have that consumer business also now. So therefore, you combine the power of the consumer business and the ad business, you become a holistic internet company. We have done that now. So I think the power of a global business, when you compete with the biggies, you truly come out with your own. And you have to have a own unique approach to building those kind of businesses. And we feel that we now have done that. The space is large. We have a very formidable chance of making it that big. So yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, and you're competing globally, so there is a right to win there. You talked about Glance. Let's come to it and introduce our viewers to what that operation also is about. So as I understand it, using AI now to aid commerce. Why don't you tell us more?
Look, when the internet came 30 years ago, it changed the way we shop. It brought new shopping mechanisms with the likes of Amazon, etc. There is a new way which is coming, which is AI. With AI, the world has to change again. So back in December 2023, we built something as a prototype that I saw and thought that it would change the way the world shops. This was our version of Glance AI, which is a new way to shop using artificial intelligence. Currently, shopping is not an intelligent machine. Shopping, you as a consumer say, I want to buy this or I want to buy something else. Nobody is telling you intelligently to say, this is what you should buy. So first what we did is we trained a model of shopping on the world's shopping data. Second, we said, how do you experience a product? You imagine a product, in your house, on you, etc. when you're buying online. We said, let's change that. With generative AI, instead of showcasing the product just as a standalone product, let me put it with you. So we now put the product on you or around you in your spatial, space, and then you experience the product as if it's on you. So it is intelligent and it is generated both at the real time. And that's when happens is truly a new way to shop. And we feel with Glance AI, it is a chat GPT moment for shopping.
Just off-field question, Naveen. A lot of times the commentary around innovators are, especially Indian innovators, what are you making to solve the problems of the country?
Yeah.
Okay, so this comment came up time and again when recently in your city, Bengaluru, roads were flooded, everything's collapsing, and they were like, listen, this is the home of all of the innovators. Ye khana fatafat bhej rahe hain. A lot of the products are there to aid consumerism, but what are they doing to solve real world problems, especially of the country that you are housed in?
Look, I think this is absolutely correct, by the way. If you think about technology, we build technology that is solving the world's problem right now. That is a much bigger level of problem solving that we are trying to do. We are creating technology that will change the way the world shops, the world would experience. Now, we are doing that from India. We're doing that from heart of Bangalore. Once you do that there, everybody around is building those kind of technologies. It's not been done before. That level of technology creation has not happened before. When you do these kind of things, amazing people stay back in your country and work on these hard problems. We eventually are going to take these kind of companies public in India over the next several years. Our own community, our country will benefit from this. Now, how does one solve the road problem in Bangalore, infrastructure problem in Bangalore, etc.? Somebody should solve it. And absolutely it should be solved. We get all pained by, the Bangalore traffic and everything. But I think we should also realize that if somebody in India, I fundamentally believe India should write the software on which the world should run. We have that level of power in our country. If you take the global powerhouses, right? The US and the China, in terms of what they have created, US creates software on which the world runs. China creates manufacturing products on which the world, mostly utilizes. We should create, going forward, we should create products on which the world also starts to run. That's our possibility in the next 10 to 15 years.
So we have the capability of doing it. Why don't we have, so this question comes often, why don't we have the next Google, the next Meta,
Well, we will have
the
it.
next NVIDIA, or even the DeepSeek?
Well, we'll have it. It's only a matter of time. I think we're confusing two different things. When you try to compare a US technology evolution and a Chinese technology evolution, you should realize, firstly, the technology evolution in those countries has been happening for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
For China, it's been happening for 30 years, the US, 40 to 50 years. For us, it's only been 15 years. In the first 15 years, we have built amazing technologies that have truly changed the way the country functions right now. Now comes a time over the next several years where we can hopefully now also write software and build products that not only our own country uses, but it's used globally. What we have done with Glance AI is probably one of those, is done for the first time. Just like when we became a unicorn, you were saying earlier, nobody knew what it meant. We also didn't know what it meant. Similarly, now when we create a global product that got launched in 140 countries, by the way, day before or last week, 140 countries. That's a scale at which nobody fathoms launching it, a product at. We have done that from India.
So, Naveen, I want to ask you this, and it's in a sense, a personal / professional question. How do you keep the enthusiasm and the passion up? Because you've also been a serial entrepreneur. You've also helped identify great ideas. We've had some of those products and brands and those people on our show, on The Disruptor as well. Razorpay, for example. So how do you keep up the passion for what you're doing? Because there's a couple of reasons people start businesses and grow big. One is that they want to get rich. That's already done for you. You want to make a successful product, already done. What is it that keeps you going and you feel you need to keep going?
Simple. We want to create technology that puts InMobi on the world map at a level at which it gets talked about alongside the likes of Google and Facebook and NVIDIA. That's the technology. That's our passion. That's what every InMobian is trying to do. To create technology, and that's what Glance AI has done. It has created a technology that has never been created before. I think it takes a lot to innovate, and innovate at a global scale, innovate for a global problem, in a way that the world functioning should change. We have tried to do that, done that, and the passion comes from the fact that the possibilities are so many in this world that it's not about getting rich. It's not about launching one product and being fine with it. It is about the possibility that exists in front of us that should excite not just me, everybody around. Our whole company, by the way. A large portion of our company has been with us for 10 plus years. Large portion. They are equally excited about what we are doing today that they were 10 years ago. So it's not an individual phenomena. It is a phenomena of the company. Because innovation is a culture, not a thing to do once. And once you are innovating, you always feel very excited about, by the way, when you do innovation, you fail many times. So you have to be able to say, I'm trying, failing, boom, here's a big success.
And then you don't know if you're going to have that moat. Is it going to continue to that level of success? Because things are changing so fast, especially with something like AI. Do you worry that, how do you stay on top of an innovation which is changing at a speed that no one can understand right now?
You asked me something in the beginning. You said, hey, I think we talked something about conviction. As entrepreneurs, as innovators, we don't worry about what can go wrong. Glance AI is right now live with about 1 million users in beta. They are not engaging with the product. They are obsessed with it. They are generating commerce real time. Real time generation of commerce was not a thing in the past. They are doing it today. And when you see these kind of things, you see how the world reshapes itself because of your technology. That is a different level of excitement.
What is the change in trends or the way people shop that you will see because of this latest innovation that you're talking about?
In the past, trends get created. Uh, Today, or as users, you kind of follow a trend basis others' usage of products. Going forward, the trends will get created basis intelligence and basis what is great for you. So the trend will also become very personal, very individualistic. And I think that's where the world is headed. And by the way, that's going to cause changes in the way the supply chains will function, because in the past, the information from a trend to the production used to take a lot of time. Going forward, the intelligence of a change in trend or a new trend actually simultaneously passed both to the manufacturer and to the consumer.
So you're going to have shorter timelines, more personalization. Do you worry at all about privacy in both the businesses, InMobi and Glance? I think privacy is on top of it, right? And
Yeah.
this concern that technology, AI, whether you're serving personalized ads, that becomes a concern, or whether you have AI determine what you're going to wear based on your images.
Yes.
Is that something which is in mind?
It is not just in mind, it is paramount. Look, in the world that we live in, and it is paramount because if you don't solve for it, you don't exist as a business. These things are foundational now. They are not even to say, hey, is this like it's core. So yes, it is solved at the get-go. No user information is ever released. No user information, it's all encrypted. Everything is sitting in the, the security levels are very high. All of these things are more or less resolved. They're not issues anymore.
Naveen, for people watching this, for entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs who have this fire to do something but are looking for a problem to solve,
Yeah.
what is your advice to them? Where do you start to look for a problem to solve, and then you can find innovation?
I would say you can't go looking for a problem. You have to feel the problem. You have to feel something. Look, entrepreneurship is not a logical thing to do. You can't come in and say, oh, well, wait a second, let me go into my study and think of something and then come out. No, you have to feel it. You got to feel this to say, I think I should do this, whatever it may be. The thing to keep in mind is whether you choose a small problem or a big problem, the effort is exactly the same. So you might as well go for a big problem. Because, the chances of your success, if you choose something bigger, is actually higher. And the reason is most people tend to solve a simple problem. For example, at Glance AI, we could have solved an image problem only. To say, hey, let me just create nice images for people. I can bet you would tell me 10 other applications that actually solve for the image problem. But we said, let's not just solve for, we will, along the way of solving the commerce problem, we will have to solve the image problem, which we did. We'll have to solve the intelligence of commerce problem, which is also what we did. We'll have to solve the shopping problem. We solved 3 problems, but we solved a much bigger problem. Back in 2008, InMobi was only India. Okay. One fine day, we sat there and said, guys, let's build this into a global platform. It sounded absurd. Everyone in the board basically said, you're crazy. We agreed, but we went for it. Today, the reason why the company is so successful and so large is because we went and solved the really hard problem of building InMobi's ad platform across Asian markets, across Europe, across the United States. That is what I mean when you say, let's go solve the big problem.
So don't be afraid to bite off more than you can chew.
That is correct.
That's maybe where to start from. All right,
Yes.
so success mantras and much more from Naveen Tewari. Thank you so much, Naveen, for joining us on the show today. This has been absolutely fabulous.
Thank you so much.